What's up, my people? Doomsday has just returned in a big way in Superman issue 19 with a story called The Many Deaths of Doomsday. But this issue is also the official start for the Superman title within DC's All-In initiative and will have massive ramifications for not only the Man of Steel, but also for the entire DC universe as a whole. So for all of you who have been looking to jump onto the Superman title, this is the issue to do it. Anyway, there are several important things going on in this issue, but the big highlight here is the return of Doomsday, the villain who once killed Superman. Another thing to keep in mind as we jump into the story is that it picks up immediately after the events of Absolute Power, which Superman issue 18 was a part of. Obviously, there's a number of things that happened during that event, but for today's purposes, there are a couple key things we need to point out. First of all, at the end of the Absolute Power event, which we covered in this video right here, all of the powers that Amanda Waller and her failsafe and Brainiac Queen designed Amazo stole from the world's metahumans were returned. However, some of the powers were returned to the wrong people. Some powers got mixed up, and some powers ended up with regular humans who had never had powers to begin with, leaving several DC heroes out in the cold without their powers at all. And the second thing is, on the last page of Superman 18, we see Doomsday trying to break out of hell, which he's actually been trying to do since the Action Comics Doomsday special. But with that, let's jump into Superman issue 19. The book starts off with a panel that just says, "The End," alluding to the end of time. So it looks like writer Josh Williamson is going to Tarantino this thing and show us the end first before we see how we got there. Anyway, we then see Superman's symbol completely covered in flames as he tells a still hidden figure, killing is never the answer. There must be another way. But this mystery person tells him, even now you hold on to your lofty morals and ideals, your sense of good and evil. They meant nothing in your day and mean even less now at the end of time. As we flip to a dope splash page revealing that this flame-covered Superman is talking to Time Trapper. For those of you who aren't familiar with him, Time Trapper is one of the more obscure villains in the DC universe, but also one of its most powerful. Over the years, Time Trapper has most often come into conflict with Superman and the Legion of Superheroes, as Superman said, and his identity has been a mystery, at least until now, and the reveal is pretty wild, but we'll get there. Time Trapper then continues to tell Superman, it has been said that everything dies, but we both know that isn't true, don't we, Kal-El? Superman is forever. I am forever. Our conflict will never end. The Superman from the future then says, we have fought many times, Time Trapper. This will be no different. You will lose. Which Trapper, which I'll use for short, ends the conversation by saying, the great philosopher Tenzel Kem once speculated that as long as there is a Superman, there is hope in the universe for a better tomorrow. But here you are, the last son of everything. If you won't do what needs to be done, I will find someone else who will. As he disappears from what I assume is a destroyed metropolis at the end of time, as we partially see city buildings and floating rubble all around them, which is a big way to start things off. And speaking of big moments, every year California hosts some of the biggest and most exciting events in geekdom, and one of them is just around the corner with Fan Expo San Francisco. And this November 29th through December 1st, 35,000 fans will descend on the Moscone Center to see an all-star lineup including stars like Hayden Christensen, Joseph Quinn, Charlie Cox, Grant Gustin, and a crazy ton more. On top of amazing guests, they'll also have gaming, cosplay, anime, and animation voice actors, as well as legendary comic creators. And I'm talking about Frank Miller, Josh Williamson, and Arthur Adams. They'll all be there. In fact, Frank Miller will be having a special experience celebrating the 50th anniversary of Wolverine, and everyone who attends will receive an 11x17 Wolverine Frank Miller licensed foil lithograph, at least while supplies last. Not to mention, the show will actually fall on Black Friday weekend, so all the exhibitors will be selling their top-tier inventory for the holiday season. I'm telling you, this 3-day event is going to be wild, so if you're in or around the area or you can make it out there, you want to grab your passes to Fan Expo San Francisco now. Again, it all goes down November 29th through December 1st, and you can grab your tickets at fanexposanfrancisco.com/variant or click our link in the description below. Just be sure to use our special link so they know we sent you. Now, getting back to the story, on the next page, we're brought back to the present and the Daily Planet in Metropolis, where we see Jimmy Olsen trying to talk to Lois Lane, the editor-in-chief. He's trying to show her the picture he has for tomorrow's front page, but she's in a hurry and tells him to show her on the move, while simultaneously barking orders at several other employees at the Daily Planet. Lois looks down at the picture and snaps at Jimmy saying, what are you doing? You know exactly what picture I want. Jimmy then asks, Superwoman? To which she replies, bingo. But Jimmy tells her, Miss Lane, that isn't fair. You know no one has been able to get a picture of her. But Lois just responds, yeah, but you're Jimmy Olsen. You can do this. Olsen is obviously flattered, then asks, one last thing, have you seen Clark recently? I was hoping I could go to both of you for some relationship advice, but every time I try to talk to you two, you're busy. However, before she can answer, they both see a massive explosion out the window. We then see that Lois is hearing someone say, we need backup. Help. So she tells Jimmy, We'll talk more later, I promise. I have so many meetings today, so many meetings," as she runs off and enters a broom closet. But when she closes the door, she realizes that Clark is already in there as well. So the two exchange awkward hellos, followed by both opening their shirts and revealing the S symbol underneath, which obviously means that Lois must have inherited superpowers after the powers were misplaced during the events of Absolute Power, transforming her into the superwoman she was telling Jimmy to get a picture of. And while they haven't confirmed that explanation yet, it seems kind of self-explanatory. Either way, this was a cool way to reveal Lois Lane as Superwoman. Anyway, we then see her and Clark fly off to check out what the explosion was, and on the way, Superman asks Lois, "You heard the boom downtown, I take it?" She tells him, "And saw it. Big purple cloud." Then when they arrive to the location, we see that the cause is none other than Atomic Skull, who looks at the two heroes and says, "To me, my Atomic Zoo," as he unleashes several atomic zoo animals on them. Superman then says, "Albert, what are you doing? I thought you moved past crime like this." But Atomic Skull replies, "Sorry, Superman, my new babies are eating me out of house and home." At this point, we are taken to Supercore Tower, which is the old LexCorp tower that Lex gave Superman back during the first arc of this Superman title. Anyway, we see several Supercore employees, including Mercy Graves, instructing Superwoman and Superman on how to attack. One of the employees asks, "When did he get a zoo?" To which another responds, "Maybe those animals transformed when Waller's Super Amazos returned all the powers they stole." But Mercy chimes in saying, "No, this is something else. We believe Dr. Farm and Mr. Graft experimented on Albert the same way they did Parasite," which is another reference to events earlier in this Superman run. We then see one of the employees at Supercore say Wonder Woman's powers continue to read as stable, Director Graves. So Graves tells Lois, "You're good to use frost breath, but heat vision is a big no-no. My team suspects it burns up too much of the solar energy in your cells, and we don't know if you're absorbing it like Superman does." So clearly, they're monitoring Lois's powers because she wasn't supposed to get them, and no one is sure if they work the same as Superman's or how they are interacting with her cells. Graves then asks, "Hold on, who's keeping an eye on Superman's red levels?" To which one of the others tell her, "That would be Lena Luthor, ma'am." A very frustrated Graves then asks, "And where is she exactly?" Because clearly she knows she's not there or doing her job. And with that, we're taken to Lena's apartment, where we see that Lena is with her dad Lex, showing him old videos of him wearing his mech suit and screaming, "I'll kill you, Superman." We then see a perplexed Lex say, "Yikes, that can't be healthy." But Lena just looks at him saying, "Nothing?" He says, "Yeah, I don't remember this at all. And I gotta be honest with you, Lena, I don't think I want to." Now let's pause here because many of you are likely wondering why Lex has amnesia. Well, we have to go back to Superman issue 15, which was part 6 of the House of Brainiac story. You see, in order to defeat Brainiac, Lex realized that they had to destroy Brainiac's greatest weapon, his brain. But to do that, Lex had to connect his own brain directly to Brainiac's 12th level intellect, which posed the very real possibility that Lex could be killed in the process. Regardless, Lex was willing to make the sacrifice as he wanted to prove to his daughter Lena and Superman that he's turned a new leaf. So he does the deed, and in the end, Brainiac is defeated. And while Lex did survive, his memory was completely wiped, leaving him with no recollection of who he is or the villainous things he's done in the past. And that brings us back to the present, where we find Lex with no memory of what he's watching himself do on video. It's a very interesting place for Lex Luthor to be in, and I'm curious to see how his part of the story plays out. But at this point, Graves radios into Lena yelling, "Why are you not at your post?" Lena then jumps up and races out, but not before asking her dad if he would be okay. He just looks out the window and tells her, "Don't worry about me, Lena. I think I'll take a walk through the city. It's such a nice day." We're then taken back to Superman and Superwoman, who have defeated Atomic Skull and wrangled up his pets, followed by Jimmy Olsen flying in on a motorcycle saying, "Out of my way, I'm getting that picture," as he's still trying to get a picture of Superwoman for Lois Lane. But before he gets there, both supers fly off with Superman saying, "Poor Jimmy." And as they're flying, Superman asks Lois how she's feeling, to which Lois replies, "Great, it's been a few weeks now that I've had these powers, and we've had our fair share of adventures," as we see flashbacks of the two of them fighting robots, teaming up with Aquaman, and more. She then continues to tell Superman, "All those years my dad trained me to fight as we moved from base to base have finally paid off, but I don't think anything could have trained me for flying. I've flown with you, but to experience it on my own is something else. I don't know how you ever slow down and let your feet touch the ground." But Superman tries to interject saying, "Speaking of that, we should really get back to work." As he's saying this, you can tell he's clearly concerned about possible limitations to her powers putting her at risk. But as they're heading back to the Daily Planet, they hear people screaming and asking for help on the streets below. So obviously they fly down to check it out, and when they get down there, they are shocked to realize that the people are running from none other than Doomsday, who has finally broken free from hell. Now, to give you a little backstory on Doomsday and hell, let's go to the Action Comics Doomsday special, where we learned that after Doomsday was defeated by Superman in the Death of Superman story, he ended ended up in hell, and over time actually became the king of hell. That's right, he managed to overcome the first of the fallen, aka the devil, to take the top spot in the underworld. How did he do that, you ask? Well, it turns out, according to Satan himself, belief is everything, and over time, Doomsday converted the damned into his own personal groupies, making him the new Lord of Hell. He then fostered and leveraged the strong belief of the damned to slowly start opening a gate that would allow him to return to Earth. However, the devil turns to Martian Manhunter and Supergirl, explaining what's going down and that due to the rules, he can no longer fight Doomsday himself. Because if he does, heaven's gonna come a-knockin'. So he asked them to fight Doomsday on his behalf and break the belief of the damned so he can return to hell as king once again. In return, the devil promises to make sure Doomsday never leaves and is trapped there forever. The two heroes reluctantly accept the deal, and Supergirl defeats Doomsday with special armor given to her by the devil. Then, as planned, Doomsday's defeat leads to the damned losing their belief in him, and his gateway back to Earth was closed, restoring the devil back to his hellish throne, making him the king of hell once again. But on the very last page of the Doomsday special, despite the promises made, we see Doomsday relentlessly punching at the door of hell, which is made from the flesh of the damned. And now it seems he was able to break through that door because he's back on Earth and ready for a rematch with Superman. So this brings us back to Superman 19, where we see a panicked Superman and Superwoman are racing around trying to save people. And at the same time, we see Graves back at Supercorps saying, "All hands on deck. We have a super level threat. I thought we confirmed Doomsday was in hell." Someone then tells her he must have died there and his resurrection forced a new evolution, Mrs. Graves. So maybe that's the explanation for this escape, but it's also very possible he just punched his way through with brute, unrelenting force. Regardless, Graves says it doesn't matter how he got here. Focus on saving lives. Get all available units at Superman and Superwoman's location now. Contact the Watchtower. We need the League on standby in case this gets bad. We also see Lois while staring at Doomsday in horror as she remembers the last time he fought Superman, followed by the iconic image of Lois holding the bloody and lifeless body of Superman, which is yet another amazing callback. Josh Williamson is just adding so much classic Superman to this title, and it's so good. Anyway, Lois's fear of losing Clark quickly turns to anger as her eyes light up with heat vision. But Superman, who knows how powerful Doomsday is, tells her Doomsday is not some giant robot or misunderstood monster. He's an unstoppable force of nature. Get out of here and regroup with the family now. But Lois is having none of that and tells him, "No way. This is my fight too." So a very hesitant Superman replies, "Then follow my lead." And just as he says that, Doomsday, who is surrounded by Doomsday hellhounds, lunges at both of them. However, just as the battle is about to begin, everything freezes. Time stands still, all except a confused Superman who looks around saying, "Nothing, not a sound anywhere. The whole world has gone quiet. Time has stopped." A voice from behind him then says, "One might say it has been trapped." Superman then turns around and says, "What do you have to do with this, Time Trapper?" Trapper then looks at the situation they are in with Doomsday and asks, "Have you told Lois yet that you will watch her wither with age and die? That you will outlive everything? All your family and friends will be like sand in an hourglass as they waste away, forgotten to time. Of course, in some timelines, I witnessed you choose to live a normal life among the humans, life without power. How selfish to deny the future as Superman." At this point, Superman says, "Cut to the chase. You can visit anywhere in time. Why are you here now?" Time Trapper then tells him, "Because this moment is special. The horror that happens next will decide the fate of everything." Superman is then shocked as Time Trapper reaches up and removes his hood to reveal his identity as he continues to say, "Now I have died many times before, once at your own hands, back when you knew me as Doomsday. We have been enemies for millennia, Superman, but now I need your help." And the issue ends as we finally get our first look at the true identity of Time Trapper, which is an older and far more evolved Doomsday. It's just an amazing reveal and cliffhanger. But it also goes without saying that this issue raises a ton of questions and clearly sets us up for a full-blown rematch between Superman and a Hellfire-imbued Doomsday, which is going to be epic to see when it does happen. But we also still need to know what's going on with the powers Lois Lane took on. We can safely assume it's related to the Absolute Power event, but what are her limitations, if any? Also, what is the secret Time Trapper is hiding and why does he need help? How did he become Time Trapper? Has he always been Time Trapper? Curious minds need to know. Honestly, this is just a great start for what promises to be a new era of Superman within the All-In Initiative. They've been teasing Doomsday breaking out of hell for months now, so to have this twist with an older, more evolved Doomsday arriving to ask for Soup's help at the very moment the Savage Doomsday breaks out looking for round 2 is just good stuff. And let's not forget the whole side story with Lex Luthor, which is something we definitely need to keep an eye eye on. There's just so many wheels turning with so much potential. So we are all in with this Superman title. But what do you guys think of this issue and start to a new era for the Man of Steel? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments. Otherwise, we'll see you next time when we talk about all things comics.